Here is a knife, a custom knife that Gavkoo made for me, Mike. An awesome guy. Kind of a unique knife review in that when I do knife reviews, the real purpose of it is to tell you guys my personal experiences mixed in with some facts and opinions on a particular knife that I've been using, okay? Now, when I do knife reviews, it's not something that I do with a knife that's brand new to me. I always do a knife review on something that I have experience with. I think it's fair to do a knife review after you've used it. It's unfair to give opinions on a knife without using it, because you can look at things and say, yeah, this might be this might be that. You don't want to speculate. You know, when you do a knife review, you want to give your personal opinions from use. It's like anything else. And I've been using this knife a lot. Now, when I originally had this knife made for me, I had the intentions of carrying it for a backup defensive weapon and not using it for utility work. This was actually made for me by Mike, or Gavkoo, and it's my own design. So I didn't design it for utility work. If I were to make a knife that's purposely built for utility, I would have changed some things. But all that being said, I have to say that I love it, and it's been just fine for a utility knife, and it's pretty darn cool. What's also kind of unique about this, though, is that a lot of the purpose of a knife review is to give you the idea of what a knife may or may not be, so it can kind of help you to persuade or turn you away from a particular knife you're looking to buy. Okay, in other words, you want to buy a new knife. You watch a knife review, and you say, yeah, you know what, that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll get that. Or, hey, I watched this knife review, and I don't really like that because of this feature, or this person said it's uncomfortable. And it kind of gives you an idea of what a product's like, so you can make your own decisions as a consumer. Unfortunately, with this knife, because it's custom made and there's no other knife in the world like it, it's a one-off, just, you know, there's just one of them. I'm sure there's similar knives out there, but only one made. And in addition to that, Gavkoo doesn't really take custom orders per se. It's more or less like he makes knives he wants to make, and then if he wants to sell them later, he'll sell them. But it's not, at least not right now, I don't believe it's like, okay, well, you contact him, tell him what you want, and he makes it for you. You know, time is money, and he's got a lot of projects going on and stuff like that. So, you know, I wouldn't bombard him with a bunch of, hey, make me a knife and sell it to me for 10 bucks, because that's just not how it works. And I know, unfortunately, well, on YouTube, when someone's, you know, an upcoming knife maker, people send a lot of messages like, just like that. Hey, you know, I saw your knives, can you make me a knife? And then they go, okay, what are you interested in? Well, I want this, this, and this, and this, and I want it to cost 20 bucks. And they just kind of laugh at you, because that's not how it works. I think a lot of the price that's involved with a custom knife is your time. It's not necessarily just the materials, although materials do affect price as well. It's the time that it takes to make them. You know, these are not guys who have CNC machines and they're pumping out blanks and this, that, and the other thing. They're literally taking a piece of metal and just doing everything to it, and it takes a lot of time to do that. So my only suggestion to you is, if you really like this knife and you want something similarly made, please don't contact him unless you are very serious about it. And even then, there's no guarantee he can spend the time to make one. But I've enjoyed the knife so much, and he's such a good friend. I did want to show this and review it anyway, because I want to, you know, kind of show his work. Another thing to note here before I get started with the review is that this is a very early model of his work. This doesn't necessarily represent his quality of work right now. With that being said, I love this knife. I think it's fantastic. And I can also guarantee you, after personally seeing some of his newly made knives, like this month, in person and handling them, his craftsmanship has only gotten better. Okay, I think for what most people would still consider an amateur knife maker, he is above and beyond. Just like a couple other people here on YouTube, like Kylie. These are self-taught knife makers, and they just do phenomenal work. Really just amazing to me. And they all have passions for making knives, you know, and they're really into their craft, and they're getting better and better with every knife they make. But anyway, I want to show it off, and I'm very proud of it. And like I said, I did end up choosing to actually use this knife, as opposed to just carrying it for a defensive blade. As far as price, I don't know. I didn't buy it. It was a gift. As far as some of the specs, I can, you know, show you right here. The only thing I didn't do, or don't have in front of me now, is my scale. But I can tell you that this weighs 6.5 ounces, because I weighed it earlier today, because I was curious. I didn't weigh it until till today when I decided to do a review. But I like everything about this knife, even the sheath. You know what, let's start off with the sheath. Really cool. I mean, well, first of all, I designed the thing, so of course I'm gonna like the way it looks and the design itself. What I'm really kind of reviewing here, more so than the design, is the craftsmanship and how it's actually carried out in being made. But the quality of the knife and the quality of the sheath are superb, and particularly for being one of his first batches of knives. This is, I believe, the first batch of heat-treated steel that he got. You know, he kind of, did some blanks, all by hand, all custom done by just, bar stock. And I had him heat-treated, and this is part of the first batch. He's made dozens and dozens of knives since this, and they've, like I said, they've gotten only better and better. But even this being his early work, I'm extremely impressed. I have handled quite a few custom knives, just random custom knives. I've seen at gun shows, and some of them not even known makers, but the quality of the sheath is by far better than a lot of what I've seen. Some real simple details that I really like about the sheath. Of course, Kydex form-fitted, the great. Obviously, you heard that the snap-up, really, really nice snap-up. It's easy to retract, and that's partly because of this. And this is something that I think I saw. Kylie was the first person who kind of did this, where they did an impression on the top of the Kydex so that when you're retracting the blade, it's not so much you pulling out, because it's kind of more of a jerky moment or movement. You're pulling, and then there's a lot of pressure buildup, and then when it releases, it kind of comes out abruptly. That's not a good thing. However, just by putting a nice little comfortable kind of flared out thumb ramp on here, instead of jerking the whole thing out, all you're doing is you're securing your hand on the handle of the knife and pushing your thumb forward. Okay, the knife is released just the same, but look how smooth and how much little movement there is in my arms. Okay, it's a much more elegant retraction of your knife. So the retention on this is just fantastic. It's perfect. I can honestly say it's absolutely perfect. There's no rattle. It's extremely tight, however, still easy to retract. Extremely impressive. I like all the different eyelets in here. Although I made my own little carry system for the belt with some tether cord, just kind of looped it through. And I have a split ring on the end and then a little S-beaner. So basically I hook this to my belt loop in my pants, and I can put this anywhere around the pants, 360 degrees. And then of course tuck this in so that when I retract the blade, the length of here is shorter than the pull that I have in my arm. So when I take the knife, basically once it's in here, make sure I get that in the right way. This is tucked into my waistband, okay, and then hidden under my shirt. If I want to retract it, I go behind the shirt and I pull the whole thing out. I don't do this to retract it. I pull the entire sheath out, okay, and then once this hits the end, it creates tension, and then it releases from the sheath like that. All right, that's how I choose to carry this for drawing. But all these eyelets give you plenty of options to mount this with like a tech lock or something else. So even though I don't use them, they are very useful, if that makes any sense. Plus, having all the different holes there and the black on the red here, really it contrasts very nicely, and it just overall has a really, really cool kind of clean look to it. Overall, I think it's pretty awesome looking knife. I mean, it's just my opinion, but of course it's a biased opinion because I designed it. But yeah, and he also has his little logo here, one of the early logos. I believe it's still the same. Pretty cool. I like it. It's a piece of Gavkoo history. And it's really cool to see him progress, just like a couple other different knife makers here on YouTube, watching them get better and better and better as time goes on. It's really, really cool. And to have the luxury and the pleasure to meet these people and communicate with them, through messages and in some cases in real life, like I've been doing. It's just really, really cool. But enough about the sheath. I love the sheath system, just what I've created for myself. It works beautifully, and just the quality of his sheath is phenomenal. And on the top here, you can see, basically the Kydex was folded over this way. Okay, so it's one big piece and it's sandwiched along this way. And he puts a little tube or whatever in there when he kind of heat compresses it together. And it also makes a nice little opening on the end, not only for drainage, not that I plan on getting wet or anything, but if this was soaked or submerged in water, it would drain very nicely because the tip still is open to that. but also very conveniently you can fish some cord through there. And in this case, that's exactly what I did to help make my little carrying system. So just fantastic sheath. Honestly, there's not a single thing I would change about this sheath. I really mean that. I have not seen if these holes will line up in a certain manner for Tech Lock. I do really like Tech Locks. If I'm going to carry like that on the belt, I think they're superb. They're better than any other carry system in that sense. So I don't know offhand if they match up. If they didn't, that's the only thing I would alter in this this sheath, is to line the holes up so it would work with the Tech Lock. And that's only so that you'd have basically a four position thing. And how this rides down, it kind of flares up a little bit. I know this isn't completely square, so if I were to use a Tech Lock, I'd end up using 2 holes instead of 4. Not a huge deal. But yeah, the sheath is just phenomenal. As far as the knife itself, 154 cm, which it is marked on the blade. And on the reverse of the blade, you see Gavkoo's logo once again, kind of tank stamp. Now we have here, let me get a measurement for you. Blade length is 3.5 inches long. Again, 154 cm, it's a convex grind with a swedge. Very nice, very kind of butcher knife or chef's knife kind of deal, or a stubby chef's knife, I should say. I like it. The convex grind is phenomenally sharp. I keep stropping it up. I have not sharpened this since I've had this knife, but after use, I do strop it up to keep it nice and sharp. And Gavkoo did a little test himself and confirms that it still is nice and sharp. Now, of course, when he looked at this is his early work. And kind of one of the signs of someone who's passionate about what they do is when they look at their own work and criticize it. Anyone can take their own product and look at it and say, yeah, that's great. But when I saw him, and it was not staged, it wasn't set up or anything, I literally surprised him with this knife in person to say, hey, remember this, you know, and I do actually use it, and thank you. He looked at this, and the first thing he did was he criticized himself and went, oh man, look at those grinds, it's so amateurish, and it's such a kind of a newbie job, and oh man, that's ugly, and this, that, and the other thing. And that just showed me how much passion he has in his work, because even though, yeah, the grinds aren't perfect, this is a custom knife. This is, again, an early model of what he's done. And for someone to just freehand it with not a lot of experience, he still did a phenomenal job here. I mean, I really mean it. I'm not just blowing smoke up his butt or, you know, just trying to be his friend or anything. I mean that. You know, I have a lot of experience with knives, and I don't know if I can do a good of a job with the same experience that he has. So I think he did a fantastic job with it. It is a very smooth transition. No, it's not perfect, but it is darn good. And it is darn sharp. The grinds are pretty darn even as well. The swedge is not completely sharpened, just as I wished. And you know what? It actually worked out better. For a defensive knife, I would end up sharpening this swedge, okay? It is housed in a sheath, so it's safe for carry. But of course, you're opening yourself up to other options as far as a defense knife. If you're coming in for a slash, you can, you know, kind of sweep back and you'll have a sharpened edge for that. But I ended up using this for utility work, and I designed this so that you'd still have an area for your thumb, because I wanted the double finger choil on the front here, and wanted to be able to choke up. But if I do decide to sharpen that, I wanted that open for the future, where if I do choke up, I want a place to rest my thumb. So that's what you have here. The spine of the blade is still unsharpened, or you know, grounds enough to at least where my hand, it wouldn't be an issue. This is just a natural grip for me. So really cool. If I were to change anything now on it, I do love a tapered or rounded spine. It blows me away. It's a small detail, but every single knife I've ever had since I started seeing that, of course, starting with the Sebenza, and then a couple other production knives have that. It makes a world of a difference, and it's really great for comfort. It's the only thing I really would change with this knife. Still at 154 cm, still performing fantastically for me. I love the overall shape of this. I got the inspiration from the Texas Toothpick, one of my favorite slip joint patterns. Having this kind of pointed tail here, kind of looks like a little devil tooth or something, some kind of animal tooth, and of course an exposed tang for defensive purposes. If you weren't going to slash or stab or, you know, thrust cut or anything like that, you do have the option to kind of just use this as an impact weapon, and it's pointed enough to get the job done. Of course, in pressure points, you can do a lot of damage, and you can even use this for different kinds of controlling, you know, in the wrist and other places of the body. He designed this so that the scales are removable. as opposed to being kind of epoxy down or anything like that. By the way, the scales are, it's 2 layers of G10, obviously red and white, and then he contoured it to give this kind of look to it. And I love the look, particularly with the red sheath. Overall, I think it's pretty snazzy looking. It's unique, it's something different, that's what I wanted. Not just another black knife, I actually wanted some color. And I happen to love white on knives. I love it, absolutely love it. One of my favorite knives, as far as it looks, was my limited edition white Spyderco Endura, which I no longer have. But I like white on knives. It's really classy and it's different. I'm so used to black. And of course, every now and then you'll see other colors. You'll see blue and orange and green and red and stuff like that. But the combination of red and white was just perfect. And it's kind of a Christmas present. I love Christmas all year round, so it's kind of a candy cane thing going on. But with the texture of the G10 and the way he did this, this really reminds me of like a gummy candy, you know, like a big strip of like you know those gummy snakes, those big fat things, you know, or gummy bears, something like that. That's what it kind of looks to me. It looks like I would just bite into it and it'd be delicious, soft, sweet, chewy, gummy candy. But anyway, I know that's weird, but that's just kind of what it reminds me of when I look at it. Great job, just a freehand contour. There is a double finger choil here, and I wanted the edge, my cutting edge, to be down by the base of my fingers, inspired by some kitchen knives, okay, like perhaps a Sandoku knife, where when I'm coming down to slice something, particularly if I'm on a table, if I want to use this for food prep or something, the blade does extend past the hands, okay, so my cutting edge is protruding out. I really like that. Not only does I think it looks good, but it's very, very functional. So a couple of little features in here that were my design and his actual creation. It's just really cool. I'm extremely happy with how it turned out. Also with his contouring here, in addition to having the finger choils, which is very comfortable, and the tapered handle, if you notice the spine of the handle here rests very comfortably into the palm. With that and the finger choils, you have a fantastic grip, but even going beyond that, he contoured the ends here coming in, so as the fingers wrap around, if you can notice this, it fits. I mean, not just my hand. He has smaller hands than me, not by much, but even I believe he did it with his hands and it was really comfortable. It's very comfortable in my hands. Everything about this handle is extremely ergonomic. It just feels really good. The texture itself is very smooth, but it just fits the fingers perfectly. It's as if this was clay and I grabbed it and then he baked it in the oven. That's how it feels. It's just so custom made to me, and I never touched this knife at all. He did it all himself. So he did a really good job, and of course it ends up with this really cool looking funky design as well. It's lasted months and months now. I do use it. I don't use it very hard, but I have used it dozens and dozens of times for utility work, cutting boxes open. I did strip a bunch of cardboard down with this. I cut a couple milk jugs with this. Well, actually they're water jugs, but same, you know, the same gallon plastic jugs for recycling. In my area, we have the option to recycle. It's not mandatory. When I lived in Jersey, we had to recycle. Like, you can get fined if you didn't. But where I am now, it's kind of a unique situation. But we do have the option, so occasionally I will use that as an excuse to break out a cool knife and start testing it. And this was one of those for cutting down water jugs. It's not 100% perfect. It's not a production knife. It's not a $1,000 custom knife. This is a guy who is passionate about making knives, and he's trying to learn. And I think for the stage of expertise he was at when he made this knife, he blew it out of the water. I think he did a phenomenal job. I couldn't be happier with this knife, and not only do I love the knife, but you know, he's become a really good friend in real life. So it's just really cool. It's something I'll just always have. It was a very nice gift to me. But even if it wasn't a gift, if he was charging, you know, 150, 200 bucks for this knife, I'd gladly pay for it. It's really, really nice. I love it. So Gavkoo's been doing some really, really cool stuff. Ever since the beginning, he's been doing cool stuff. But as he progresses, you know, I subscribe to his channel. I watch all of his videos. I'm a very loyal viewer. And I like the direction he's going. Unique, different, creative, and above all, just passionate about his hobby. Just really, really cool. There's a bunch of guys on YouTube. They're just really into it, and they're, you know, it started off where, hey, I like knives. You know, hey, let me buy these knives. Hey, wait a minute, I can make these knives. And these guys are going out and they're doing it. They're getting very simple equipment and they're progressing, they're learning. Knife making can be a very fun, rewarding thing. Of course, I don't have personal experience with it, but I know it can also be very frustrating. Obviously, you have a goal in your mind, and with the, if you don't have the proper tools, obviously it makes it harder as well. But just to name a few guys on YouTube who I really follow every single video, and I love watching what they're coming up with. Obviously, Gavkoo, just custom knives. He's progressing wonderfully. Tough Thumbs, Jeff. Another guy on YouTube. He started off doing a lot of tinkering and pimp jobs and stuff like that. I actually have some stuff that he's working on for me right now that I'm very excited to check out. I'll do a video on it when I get it. But he's another guy who's just doing phenomenal work, and now he's getting into actually building custom knives for himself. There's really a bunch of them, but those two, Tough Thumbs and Gavkoo, are the two that I follow the most. Of course, Kylie, Knives and Stuff. He's like the godfather of custom knife stuff on YouTube. He was the first guy that everyone watched and went, holy crap, this is just a guy who liked knives and decided to start tinkering with things. And that's how it kind of starts. Kylie started with that peasant knife and basically just made a very simple friction folder. And he progressed from there. Same thing with Gavkoo. You start off with these simple things, and you start learning and learning and learning and trying and experimenting and getting better and better and better and perfecting your craft. And YouTube has exposed me to all these wonderful guys, and I'm very, very proud to be here on YouTube and doing this stuff. And now I'm very proud to have been an owner and a user of this particular knife for many months now. So really, really cool. If you ever get a chance in the future to have a knife made, made for you, or if you just happen to be purchasing a knife from Gavkoo, I'm sure you'll be extremely happy. Like I said, I'm very, very happy with this, and this is something he looks at and thinks to himself, that stinks. That's horrible work. So if this is horrible work, trust me, you will be extremely happy with his satisfied work. So that's all. A lot of people requested this review, even though, like I said, it's not something I particularly would want to do. Because when I do a review and you watch it and you like the knife, like I like the knife, you can go out and buy one, and unfortunately you can't buy this knife. But maybe in the future you can get something that's pretty similar to it. I think you'd be very happy with it. So that's all. Thanks for watching, guys. I will do some more knife reviews of some production folders that you can get. So stay tuned for those. I will show them very soon. Till then, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.